So basically what we'd like to do today is to show you some easy to follow instructions, and the reason why we want to do this is because if you don't have any machinery to maintain your swords, I mean, there are very easy techniques that you can use. Basically what we use really is a metal polisher or silver polisher and a sanding pad or sandpaper. Now, if you have limited experience, it would be best to use a sanding pad. So any sanding pad with a fine grit of approximately 220 or more, and when I mean more, I mean 200 and higher, is perfect for this. Don't use a sanding pad, for example, with a 60 or an 80 grit. That's much too coarse. So you really want to go with a fine grit. So the first thing to do, of course, is that when your blade is marred with scratches or having used it in combat and so forth, the first thing you want to do is put some of the polishing compound or your silver polisher or metal polisher, whichever you want to use, basically put it throughout the blade. You don't have to put too much. And then again, very important, use a fine sandpaper. And always go with the grain of the blade, so the grain of the steel. So if you look down your blade, you should be able to see the grain going downwards, always downwards. Don't ever go in this direction because you're going to have a cross effect. So always downwards, and the same thing with the guard and the pommel. Always follow the grain of the guard here, always follow the grain of your pommel as well. And now the grain of the pommel and the guard will not necessarily be the same as the grain of your blade, so just be careful with that. So once you're ready to polish, all you have to do really is to go downwards in a smooth motion. You don't have to put too much pressure. And always hold your sword down with one hand. Now with a sanding pad, the advantage really is that you'll have the pad going into your fuller. With sandpaper, it's a little bit more difficult, still doable. And this process should take approximately 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. So again, quick strokes, full motion. Now you'll have to repeat this twice per side if you want to do a really nice job. And the thing I like about using a fine grit is that once it's done, it's going to leave your blade with a really nice satin finish, as opposed to the general stainless steel swords that have this bright mirror finish. So it'll give a nice historical museum feel to your sword. Now you can put a little bit more on those areas that are problematic. And again, same direction, always same direction. Now if you're using sandpaper, remember to always switch it around once in a while, because your sandpaper, the grit will be covered with the polishing cream, so it'll stop removing the marks and bird marks. So now once the blade is done, use the same techniques really for the guard and the pommel. And again, you want to look at the grains of the guard. And again, from guard to guard might not be the same grade, especially from manufacturer to manufacturer. So you really want to pay close attention. And on our guard, for example, for the medieval knight sword, at least for this one, I see that the grain of the steel is going from left to right and from right to left. So again, Put a little bit of compound, not much because it's just a small piece, and you want to follow the grain again. And really make sure to do half the guard, make half the guard, then the other half, because the grain is going in the opposite directions. And it's important to note that you should only go in one direction, not back and forth, even if you're going parallel lines. Just make it smooth lines. And the same thing for the other side, opposite direction. Now for the blade, for those of you who have a buffing wheel, unless you have a variable speed, do not use a buffing wheel on your blade once you receive your sword. Because once the blade has been tempered, if you heat up the blade to a high temperature, in other words, the friction of the buffing wheel will cause the temper to differ from when it leaves the shop. So you really don't want to ruin that. So what you have to do really is do it by hand, just like we showed you in this video. Or, again, if you have a variable speed, you just put it at a lower speed. So the temperature won't affect the temper of it. But you can use buffing wheels for your guard and your pommel. So you basically do the same procedure on the other side. And again, the same thing on the pommel. And on this pommel, you see that the grain is kind of circular. So you can just follow it on the sides as well. So you follow the grain.